bookworms. I'm Book Kitty, and this is Kitty's Corner. My first video for Kitty's Corner was the first 3 chapters of Black Beauty being read aloud. Well, my second video is my bookshelf tour. So this is what I've got. I was finally able to unpack my books after many years of not having them near me, and I'm really excited to go through all of this with you and just realize I'm reminiscing too and kind of feeling a little piece of myself returning as I go through these items. Let's do it. So I have 2 different bookshelves. This one is entirely my vampire genre, with a little bit of Doctor Who mixed in, as you can see. Big fan. These are all my vampire books. Vampire series mostly, a few randoms. And of course all my little notebooks there on the side, but we'll go through all these in just a moment. So I'm going to start with this first one is I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, written in the 1950s. It's one of the first sci-fi vampire novels ever written. Could very well be the first. I'd have to do my research on that. But that's our first one. Then I have A Brief History of Vampires by M.J. Troe, which really is just research for my book. I wanted to get as many kinds of vampire characteristics in it as I could, and well, I needed more information, so A Brief History of Vampires. Then we have Bloodshot and Hellbent by Cherry Priest. I have not read these ones yet. I think it's probably not the only 2 in the series, but I don't know for sure. I'll have to check that out. Then here we've got our first series by Carolyn Sparks. It's a vampire novel series, vampire romance to be more specific, starting off with How to Marry a Millionaire Vampire, Vamps in the City, Be Still My Vampire Heart, The Undead Next Door, All I Want for Christmas is a Vampire, Secret Life of a Vampire, Forbidden Nights with a Vampire, Eat, Pray, Love, 60s Vampire Alive, Wanted, Undead or Alive, and The Vampire with the Dragon Tattoo. Next to that, on this bottom row here, I have 2 books by Alexandra Ivy, My Lord Vampire, My Lord Immortality. And then below that I have Kim Harrison, Dead Witch Walking. That really should be on my other bookcase. I think I may move that. And then up above that, we've got the Vampire Archives, Volume 1 and Volume 2. We've got Waking the Witch by Kelly Armstrong from the Otherworld series. Haven't checked that one out yet. Next to that, we have The Sweet Scent of Blood, a Spellcrackers novel by Susan McLeod. Next to that, we have Shannon Drake, Realm of Shadows. Again, another one I haven't checked out. Some of these I bought and then had to pack away because I moved. And they were packed away for like 3 or 4 years. And I just recently unpacked them and got my books back, and I am so happy. Tangent aside, next to that we have Savannah Roos, Beyond the Pale, which is the first book in the Darkwing Chronicles. And then I have the next 4, Past Redemption, Beneath the Skin, In the Blood, and Under Darkness. Haven't checked those out either. Next to that, of course, I have Christine Feehan with Dark Curse. Next to that is one that's a little bit out of my norm, called The Supernatural by Hill and Williams. Let's pull that out. Which I bought at a library book sale. The Supernatural by Douglas Hill and Pat Williams. It's kind of more on the horror side. I tend to stick toward supernatural romance, but I like to branch out every now and then. And then next to that I have The Element Encyclopedia of Vampires by Teresa Chung. I love this book. Let me just pull that out for you. It's not a novel. It's an encyclopedia for sure. It's got pretty much everything as it relates to vampires. It's got entries for garlic and holy water and stuff you wouldn't even think of. There's entries for like STDs and stuff to see how they would affect vampires and things like that. So it's just an entire encyclopedia of random things and how they relate to a vampire kind. On my second shelf, I have what I've got of the Lindsay Sands Argenot series. If you've seen some of my other videos, that is definitely my favorite series, my favorite author. I absolutely love it. I only have probably about half the books that are out. I would love to acquire the rest of them, but space and money are issues. Dark Shadows by Lara Parker. I've got Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter by Seth Grahame-Smith, which I loved. I loved the movie. I loved the book. I think I want to revisit it soon. I've got two more horror type vampire books, Immortal Blood and Vampire. I haven't read these ones yet. Matter of fact, I'm kind of staying away from the Vampire one because it says it's a number 2 to something. And I don't like starting in the middle of a series, so I'll get to it eventually. My third shelf down, I've got my How to Be a Time Lord official guide, because yes, I love books, but I am definitely a Whovian at heart. Super obsessed with the show, and have read a couple of the books, the old books from like the 70s. I've got like all my notebooks here because I'm not only a reader, but I'm a writer, as I mentioned, and I just absolutely love myself some pens and stationery and notebooks, and I can never have enough. Of course, I had them packed and bought a few more, so I ended up with more than I thought, because that's not even all of them, but whatever. I got my Doctor Who coloring book, which I love, and I've only done 1 page of. One day I'll get around to coloring that, or at least some of it. I've got a few books from the Night Huntress novel series by Janine Frost here. Halfway to the Grave, One Foot in the Grave, At Grave's End, Destined for an Early Grave, This Side of the Grave, and One Grave at a Time. Really enjoyed what I have read of that series. Haven't seen the rest. Kind of a bummer. And I've got Susan Seymour's Master of Darkness, Kiss of the Vampire by Cynthia Garner, My Lord Vampire by Debbie Raleigh, and 2 more Janine Frost books that are not part of the Night Huntress series, First Drop of Crimson and Eternal Kiss of Darkness. Next to that, I've just got my PlayStation 2, my PlayStation 3, and my Xbox games, which I don't play very often. Actually, most of what I play is on the PS4, so don't play much of those, but I like to have them around for when I get a hankering. And on my 4th shelf down, I've got a few horror vampire over here in the corner. I've got Rules of Darkness by Stephen Sproul, and then I've got The Shadowmancer and The Shadowmancer Returns by G.P. Taylor. Have not checked those out. Did get them at a library book sale. Again, a lot of my books got packed and I just never got a chance to get to them. Then I've got my Anne Rice novels. Up here at the top, I've got Blood and Gold and Vittorio the Vampire. Then I've got the Vampire Chronicles here and Blood Canticle here. I do love me some Anne Rice. That is one of the things that got me into vampires in the first place. Interview with a Vampire. Of course, I saw the movie before anything else, and that kind of got me into it. But then I started reading and, well, fell in love more. So that's that. Next to that, I've got the Vampire Academy series, or at least what was up to date at the time that I got these. I know there's a few more. There's got to be a few more by now. So there was Shadow Kiss, Blood Promise, Spirit Bound, Last Sacrifice, and then the two side parts, Bloodlines and the Golden Lily. Next to that is the PC Cast House of Night series. The first one I've gotten there is Immortal Love Stories with Bite from PC Cast, and I don't think it's really part of that series. Then I've got the base of the series, Marked, Betrayed, Chosen, Untamed, Hunted, Tempted, Burned, Awakened, Destined, Hidden, Revealed, and then two of the side novels that go with it, Dragon's Oath and Lenobia's Vow. I know there are more books out now for that series, mostly of the side variety like Dragon's Oath and Lenobia's Vow. But again, this was up to date at the time that I got them. And then above that, sitting there, I've got Moonshine by Alea Johnson and The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa. Have not checked those out yet. I think I might check out The Immortal Rules quite soon though. And down here at the bottom, I like to put my box series and heavier books because my bookcase is on carpet and I don't want it to get top heavy and fall off the wall. But down here I've got Dracula by Bram Stoker. Classic, can't not have it when you have a vampire collection. I don't know. Some of these I really like the covers. I got some of the special covers from like Barnes & Noble. Not that they're actually first edition or anything like that, but they kind of do look like it. So it looks a little better on the shelf. On the left here, I've got the Celestine Prophecy books. I really enjoyed these. They're definitely away from my normal genre. They're definitely more of a spiritual awakening type group of books, and have been quite helpful actually in the course of my life, and I would highly recommend them. Of course, I'd recommend almost everything here that I've read, but those I would definitely recommend for anybody who's, you know, got the big questions in life. Next to that, I've got the All Souls trilogy, and of course, one of them is currently on loan to Book Mouse because after we did our video on A Discovery of Witches, she could not stop. She read Shadow of Night within that next week and now has the third one, which I think is the Book of Souls. Next to that, I've got the Twilight saga. I got these when I was pregnant, which is right around when it came out. I read all four of them like in the course of like 2 months, and then went and saw the movie like right when the movie was coming out. And I just never did anything with them. I mean, I read them, and after a lot of years and after branching out and reading a lot more vampire stuff, they're not my favorite, but they're definitely worth being up there, I guess. Above that, I've got only 2 Harry Potter books currently. I had a few others, but you know, with like loaning things out and whatever, those are the only 2 I have currently, which is the Order of Phoenix and the Half-Blood Prince. To the right of Twilight, I've got, right next to Twilight, I've got the Twilight graphic novel as well. To the right of that, I've got the Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood and the Little Altars Everywhere boxed set by Rebecca Wells. And next to that, I've got the Hunger Games series in the box set, as well as the Divergent series in a box set. Above that, I've got the Inheritance Cycle, Aragon, Eldest, and Inheritance by Christopher Paolini, which I highly enjoyed. So that's my vampire shelf. So this is my other bookshelf that has, well, everything else. I've got a lot of classics on here. I've got some chick lit, some romance, magic stuff, pretty much everything that isn't vampires, which is kind of actually pitiful comparatively speaking, but you know, I'll take what I can get. So this here I've got not really a whole lot of particular organization of this shelf. It's mostly kind of just based on keeping likes with likes and size for the most part. Usually I go alphabetically, but I decided to change it up this time. So I started with Dan Brown over here. I've got the Da Vinci Code and Inferno. And then when I was really into the Da Vinci Code when it first came out, I also bought the Templar Revelation by Lynn Picknett and Clive Prince, and never read it. Matter of fact, I think I started that one and didn't really like it all that much, and never finished it. Next, I've got this other book, David Niven, Eagle's Cry. It's a soldier book. I don't really know much about it. Haven't tried it out. To be honest, the size is a little intimidating. The print isn't any bigger, and it's really quite thick and dense. So I haven't made it to that one yet. Honestly, you'll probably hear that a few times. There's a bunch of books on here I haven't gotten to yet. Next to that, I've got some Japanese origami and shibari books. I've got the Quran, just because somebody was giving it away and I wanted to check it out. I have the complete Sherlock Holmes Volume 2 here, The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes right here. So I actually haven't compared the two. I got them at two different places, and don't really know what crosses over, if anything, yet. Next to that, I've got Herman Melville's Moby Dick, and then the complete unabridged collection of Edgar Allan Poe, who I love. To be honest, it is, again, very intimidating being how big it is. It's all his own unabridged works, but there are a few in here I tend to frequent that I absolutely love. My absolute favorite short story is Cask of Amontillado. Every time I read that, I always find something new in the subtext or in the characters' personalities. Next to that, I've got my Stephen King. I've got 3 novels in one, The Carrie, Salem's Lot, and The Shining. Next to that, starting at the top, I've got Stephen King's Under the Dome, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And then I have John Grisham. Normally I have 2 books there, but I have the other one pulled out for another project. So I have Street Lawyer, and the other one I have is The Summons. Below that, I've got the first 4 of the Game of Thrones series, the Song of Ice and Fire. And down on my second shelf, I have the Count of Monte Cristo in a really fancy looking cover that I got at Barnes & Noble several years ago. Nice gold leaf pages, probably not real or anything, it's just a mass reproduction, but it is quite beautiful. I don't know how the light's treating that, but we'll find out. I hope you can see it. Behind the Count of Monte Cristo, I have some of my classics. I've got Frankenstein by Mary Shelley that I read in college. I've got this one that doesn't have a cover. It's really hard to read, and I always forget what it is. The Journalist and the Murderer by Janet Malcolm. Haven't checked that one out. I think I got this at a book sale. Yeah, I got it at a book sale in college. Then I have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom by August Wilson, which was assigned when I was in college in one of my classes. It's actually really good. It's a really, really short one. You should check it out. Next to that is A Child Called It, which, as you can see, I couldn't make it very far in. It's a very emotional read, very heavy. That's why I tend to stick toward fiction, actually, is books like this. And another one that sticks out in my mind is A Cradle Will Fall, which I never bought. I borrowed it also for an assignment for college, and that broke my heart, and I couldn't do it anymore. Next to that is The Heart of Whiteness. Next to that, I've got a small collection of Shakespeare's works. I've got Henry, I've got Romeo and Juliet, The Tempest, Othello, Macbeth, and then this one has Pericles, actually I've never even heard of that one, Cymbeline, and The Two Noble Kinsmen. Over here in this pile here, I've got Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. Then I have The Hobbit, which honestly, a fantasy collection is not complete without The Hobbit, if you ask me. I love that book. Love the movies, but I love the book so much more, obviously for good reason. Below that, I've got a dual Romeo and Juliet and West Side Story. Below that, I've got both Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn by Mark Twain, and I love it. Great Expectations below that. Another really, really great book that I read in high school that I would like to revisit. Below that is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, which I did reread. I did have to read it in middle school, but I reread it, I don't know, probably 5 years ago. And honestly, with the amount of time that was between them, it was really shocking how much I had forgotten how gritty that book is. Below that, I've got David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Normally, I would keep my Dickens together, but the size didn't allow for that, so I kept it as close as possible. Below that, I also have one that would be over here because the author is the same, but it got a little misshapen while it was packed from my move, and so I had to put it on the bottom of a pile to kind of reform it. But that's The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, and I really apologize if I pronounced that wrong. But I also have over here the one it would be with, A Thousand Splendid Suns by him as well. On this side, I've got The Cider House Rules by John Irving. The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, which, believe it or not, I did not have to read in high school. I picked it up because a lot of people said they had to, and I still haven't gotten to it. Next to that, another favorite short story of mine, The Pearl. I think it was just a favorite because it was an easy read, and I remember there was something really profound about it, but I can't place it right now because it has been a while since I read it. Next to that, I have Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, and I wish that the amount of love that this book has received was due to me, but I got it at an estate or a garage sale, and its wear and tear is not due to me, but I do love it that much more because of it. I tend not to open it too much because it is kind of cracking. And I probably won't, if I read this book again, I probably won't read this copy. I'll probably download a PDF or get a new copy or borrow it from the library or something. Next to that, I've got Under the Tuscan Sun by Frances Mays. The Woman Warrior by somebody Kingston. Maxine Hong Kingston, The Woman Warrior, Memoirs of a Girl Among Ghosts. Next to that, I've got The Lovely Bones, which if you have not seen that movie, it is so incredibly emotional and you will cry. And the book is just as bad, if not worse, as far as like how emotionally heartbreaking it is. But highly recommend anyway. Next to that, I've got Wicked by Gregory Maguire, the story of the Wicked Witch of the West, the life and times of. Next to that is Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. I know a lot of people have heard of this. I've heard it mentioned. That's why I ended up picking it up when it crossed my path. But again, still haven't read it because I got it right before I moved. And on the end, next to A Thousand Splendid Suns, I have Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt. Also recommended to me and haven't gotten a chance to check out. There's quite a lot of these I haven't checked out yet and that you may see on my channel in coming videos. Below that, I've got my girly stuff. I've got Confessions of a Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella, Love, Lust, and Pixie Dust by Luann McLean, Master of Secret Desires that has 3 female authors, S.L. Carpenter, Elizabeth Jewell, and Tawny Taylor. Above that, I have Crazy Love by Frances Chan. Above that, I have Picture Perfect by Jodi Picoult. And Candace Bushnell, I've got 3 books by. If you don't know, Candace Bushnell is the one who wrote Sex and the City, which I have right here, and Trading Up, as well as Lipstick Jungle. I have read Lipstick Jungle. It's pretty much along the same feel as Sex and the City, powerful women trying to like make it in a man's corporate world. Above that, I've got Memoirs of a Geisha. Just seemed like the only place I could put it. It's not really there because of the genre or anything. Next to that, I've got Staying Dead by Laura Ann Gilman, which I have read, but don't remember too much of. I do remember enjoying it. Next to that, I've got Infinity from the Chronicles of Nick by Sherilyn Kenyon. Then I've got another Sherilyn Kenyon, Sins of the Night. Below that, I've got Beneath the Raven's Moon by Emily LaForge, Obsession by Wendy Morgan, and Enchantment Place. This one is a bunch of tales in one book. So this is 17 all-new tales about the mall where vampires, were-creatures, sorcerers, witches, elves, and other fae beings go to shop. That sounds really fun. That explains why it's here. I'm gonna have to look at that. Next to that, I've got Isabeau S. Wils's Flora, and I cannot pronounce this, so I'm gonna try, but Feardrake maybe, Fyrdraac. Wait, there's another letter after that. Feardraca, Flora Feardraca. Next to that, I've got the Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel series by Michael Scott. And if you have not checked it out, you should check out The Alchemist. We did a video on The Alchemist. I think it was our third video. And we really enjoyed it. Above this, you probably can't see it in the video. Oh yeah, you can. I have Inkspell, which by Cornelia Funk. I like that name, Cornelia Funk. Which I believe is, I think this is the same as the movie with Brendan Fraser. And I really enjoyed the movie. I think that's why I picked up the book. Again, I don't know why size is intimidating. It's almost like I want to get too many books read. But there's no such thing as too many books, right? On my last shelf of books, I've got all of my Nicholas Sparks. I went on a little Nicholas Sparks kick for a little while. I have read probably about half of these, to be honest. So I've read 9 of these and seen the movies for a bunch of them. I don't know, he gets me every time. It almost seems like every book is the same, and some people will complain that a lot of his books are the same. But I don't know, they give me a good feeling every time, so I just let it happen. Next to that, I've got Bite Me by Christopher Moore, which I do believe could be a vampire novel, could be werewolves, it could be both. I don't remember. I do not have the actual cover for this. I think I acquired the book like this. I don't think I had the cover. Next to that, I've got Cirque du Freak by Darren Shan, Hunters of the Dark. It is a novel in a saga, as it says, continuing the best-selling saga of Darren Shan. This is not the first book, which I think is why I haven't read. This is book 7. Yeah, it's pretty far in. That's why I haven't actually read it yet. I think it came in a bag of a bunch of books that I got from somebody. But I do plan on checking that series out because I did enjoy, and I'm sure the movie is nothing like the book, but the Cirque du Freak movie was really quite ridiculous. And then I have Elizabeth Moon's Oath of Fealty and The Princes of Ireland by Edward Rutherford, which is the Dublin Saga. And let me tell you, I read that several years ago. I think, yeah, I was pregnant when I read that one. I worked in a kiosk in the mall, and I just sit there and read, and I do remember making it through this. This thing is monstrous, and it spans centuries in Ireland. It was really, really interesting and really fun. I mean, history and fiction mixed in one is not my favorite genre, but I do enjoy it from time to time, and it mixed really well in this book. I do remember there was one part that was a little drier than the rest, but if you make it through that, it's totally worth it. So that there are the books on my shelves. So the last things to show you on my bookshelves are my knickknacks and my geeky collector pieces, because I am not just a book geek, but a pretty hardcore geek. Whatever that means. So I have this really cool stone that I had an old customer who actually hand painted this for me, because I cosplay Poison Ivy and Catwoman, and I had done a Poison Ivy for Halloween, and this customer had seen it and really liked it, so he hand painted me this gorgeous poison ivy rock piece, which I love. It's quite hefty too. I could really hurt somebody. Here I've got just this random Lego train. I like Legos. But here that it sits on is the base of a trophy. The top part had actually broken quite a bit, and so I got rid of that. But this is from a trophy from my 7th grade science fair project, where I won first place on the report. It was about optical illusions. It was pretty cool. My hypothesis was wrong, but the report was really great. So that's that. And yes, I was in 7th grade in 2000. Next to that, I've got my little Batman Lego car and my little Catwoman Lego car. Cool little tail here. I like it. I like it a lot. She's even got like, she got a little diamond because she's a jewel thief, but then she's got like a little carton of milk too. Next to that, it looks like my poison ivies have fallen over and I need to rewrite them. But here I've got like if poison ivy wasn't evil enough, I've got like an evil ivy with black and green, and then I've got the traditional regular ivy with green and green. Behind them, I've got a nice little Catwoman action figure. She doesn't really stand on her own. I thought I had a thing for her, but apparently not. Stand. Next to that, I've got this little cute, adorable little poison ivy square, Hawaii cubes is what it's called. I got that at a Nickel City Con in Buffalo. And this I also got there at the Nickel City Con. It's just a bracelet that's poison ivy, which I have worn quite a bit, as you can tell. There that is. And then a nice little, really cute, younger poison ivy action figure. This thing always falls off quite often. I'll just find it on the shelf. But she also doesn't stand on her own, so she stays right there. Below that, I've got a little bit more personal items. I don't have a whole lot of room in the bathroom that I've got, so my makeup brushes are just kind of chilling here. I actually did make a holder for them. It's just a couple of Pringles cans and some duct tape, done really carefully and slowly, so that they sort of line up. Obviously, I didn't get it perfect, but just kind of holding my brushes, and then my little dreadlock extension decoration piece that just kind of hangs there so it doesn't get damaged or tangled up with anything. Next to that, I've got a nice little tea light essential oil fragrance burner. It says, "Let your dreams take flight." I thought the bookcase was an appropriate place for that since my books are my dreams. Next to that, I've got this little water whistle thing I got at Canal Fest, which is Western New York week-long festival every year. And if you put a little bit of water in the base and you blow in the hole and you leave this hole, you can like make it like tweets like a bird, which is really kind of cool. And it's hand painted and everything, and it's just really, really pretty. I don't know if you can, yeah, nice look at that. I can't bring it too close or it won't focus. Next to that, I got my Day of the Dead. It's actually an ashtray, but I like to hold little things in it, like random Lego pieces that fall off of things that I haven't found where they go yet, which is currently what's in there. And being in South Texas, just felt like it was right to have that. Next to that, I've got an old liquor bottle, actually, and I don't know how well, yeah, you can't really see that all that well because black doesn't show up on camera too great, but it's just this gorgeous black cat. I think it was vodka. Oh no, it was wine, it was Riesling. But I just put some weight in there and taped up the top because I really, really love this bottle, and I just absolutely love cats and identify with them, so that's that, and also why I am Book Kitty. Next to that, I've got this jewelry holder that I made that I'm not going to pick up and show you, just simply because there are some finishing touches I need to make on it. It is, again, a Pringles can with duct tape, and then it's just got holes with bobby pins unfolded and bent on each side, stuck through, almost like, do you remember Kerplunk? If you remember Kerplunk, which I loved as a kid, it's kind of like Kerplunk. They go through the tube like the sticks did in Kerplunk, only they're kind of bent to like, so they come up on either side so they can hold bracelets and anklets. But I can't pick it up because the bobby pins don't like to stay put and things like to fall off of it. I do need to super glue it or hot glue it or something to make that a little more durable, but that's why I can't really pick that up. Below that, you've seen my Doctor Who How to Be a Time Lord official guide, but I also have the bow ties are cool red bow tie next to that, which is really cool. It's like a clip-on, and it's like a clip-on tie, but it's also like a hair clip, so you could wear it pretty much anywhere you wanted to add that in, which I do actually take that off my shelf a few times and wear it because I love it. It actually used to live in my car, right up on where the rearview mirror is, but I don't have a car anymore, so it goes to my bookshelf. Next to that, I've got a few of my Lego pieces, Doctor Who themed. I've got my Matt Smith, my Peter Capaldi, my Daleks. I've got a Weeping Angel. I've got K9, who's missing a side. I don't know where that went. Traveling and moving and stuff, it just kind of lost it. I've got another Peter Capaldi, but this is like my geek toy point of pride here, is this gorgeous, this gorgeous Lego arrangement of the TARDIS and her console. It's got a lot of detail in there. I'm gonna try and show you the best I can. But it's got like the controls on the dashboard. It's got the little rails. It's got like the stairs come up and stuff. Like that folds up. This actually detaches from the inner console and closes, and it can separate. So like it's like two separate pieces, but then it can attach and be like, oh, you're walking into the TARDIS and then you're in the console area, which is really cool. I put that together in an evening, no big deal. Okay, below that, this bag just has some really cool like colored pins. That's what I use for journaling. I vowed to myself that I would never use black in my journal. No black ink, because, I don't know, just because I needed more color in my life and thought it would be a more positive influence. Either way, I'm sticking to it. Next to that, I've got several sonic screwdrivers, also Doctor Who. I think you're sensing a theme here. This here is River Songs. It's just a noiseless replica. I don't even remember if this one has lights. I don't think this one has lights on it or anything. It actually kind of looks like it might, but I can't seem to find a button for it. So I could be wrong. Next to that, these next three actually came in a kit from Amazon where you could make your own screwdriver. So some of them are a little mixed up because this is the top for Matt Smith's. They're the 11th Doctors. And this is the grip for the 11th Doctors, but that's not the base of it. And it's all kind of mixed up. The one I chose for my own is this one. I like green and blue. So I mixed them. That's my personal sonic screwdriver. The rest are just the pieces from the other ones. Next to that, I actually got this as a gift from my old roommate. I've got a spork with a sonic screwdriver on the end. How cool is that? And next to that, I've got my TARDIS tin, which I love, my little lunchbox. And inside the tin, what lives in there is some Doctor Who like card games that I think I picked up at like Spencer's or Hot Topic or something. They just kind of live in there. I know this shelf is a little bit harder to see, but my tripod only goes so high. So I'm gonna bring these down to you, but I've got my Captain Picard pop figure, because like, who doesn't love that bald head? I love Picard. Star Trek's great. And I mean, how can you have the captain without having #1 as well? Look at our handsome face. On this side, I have, there were these little mini pop figure looking things that were being sold at convenience stores, gas stations, and I did end up picking up 3 of them. They were mystery boxes. You didn't know who you got, but I there's a few I could have wanted, but I am pretty happy with my selection. I ended up with Arya, Tormund, and Tyrion, and they all look pretty cute. Of course, he looks pretty angry, I guess for good reason. Arya looks a little, I don't know, not quite like Arya. She looks a little confused or lost. I guess she was kind of lost, if you look at it that way. And then you've got Tormund, and he's just, I love Tormund. I wish him and Brienne could have been a thing instead of whatever the fuck happened with Jaime and all that shit. Yeah, don't like character lines being completely ignored. But that's besides the point. Down on this shelf, I like to keep my Doctor Who pop figures, of which I have quite a few, actually. This here is the Master's watch, his stopwatch, which obviously I do not have working. The battery has died. But in one of the episodes of Doctor Who, he had actually trapped his being, his essence, in this Gallifreyan stopwatch. That's what that circle stuff is in there. That's the language. That's Gallifreyan. Circular language. Really quite interesting. Next to that, I've got my rose from, if you can tell, it's from the episode with the episode where she meets Jack Harkness, Captain Jack. Next to that, I've got my David Tennant Doctor with the hand in the thing. And if you know Doctor Who, you understand. If you don't, you don't. But that's, as you can see, he's got two hands already. And that one in the tank actually is his hand. If you don't get why, you should go watch it. Totally worth it. This is Davos, the god of the Daleks. We've got the War Doctor here, who, if you do recognize him, he was John Hurt. Unfortunately, rest in peace. Then we got a nice little Cyberman and Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor. Behind that on this shelf, I've got this little keychain David Tennant in the trench coat, who takes a little effort to like make stand up because of the keychain. And then I've got the David Tennant Doctor with the 3D glasses keychain as well. And y'all don't know everything about me, obviously, but I do collect keychains. I have almost or over 300. Yeah, I have quite a bit of keychains, and it just doesn't want to stay. Okay, and then next to that, which actually is backwards, I've got a 3D printed TARDIS that a friend got for me for Christmas last year, maybe my birthday. He had his friend 3D print it, who also happened to be a Whovian, which was really cool. But what's really cool about this is it actually holds a Raspberry computer. I don't really know what that means. There are people in my circle of friends who do and have tried explaining it to me. And maybe someday I will use it for its intended purpose, but for right now, it lives right here between the Davids. I've got one more shelf to show you. As you can tell, this shelf doesn't really have a whole lot on it. It is toward the bottom, and I don't know, I just ran out of things to put on there. Oh, I'm sure I'll get more, don't worry. But I've got a little tin over here. It's Yoda. Actually has Q-tips in it, but no matter. I got it because the tin's awesome. I think I got that actually at the dollar store, of all places. I have the World's Greatest Love Letters, compiled by Michael Callahan, that I got at Barnes & Noble, which was not on my shelf earlier. Oh, and there's a few books missing from the shelf that I have elsewhere in the house, but no matter, you'll get to those. Those ones are off the shelf for a reason. Here in front, I have this really awesome wooden flute that my boyfriend bought for me. I really wanted to get back into playing the flute, and didn't have my B flat or C flute that I used to have, so he bought me a wooden flute, and I was like, oh, this is not what I expected, but you know, I could learn it. It'd be really cool. So that's my beauty. Bought locally from a local vendor, local shop. Shop local, guys, small businesses. Over to the right, I have this hairpin that a friend brought back from Japan with her for me while she was visiting family, which is really pretty. And then behind that, she also got me this from Japan as well, which is this gorgeous little, it's just a mirror, but it's got this nice little padded back and the nice little bag. So they just kind of live here so they can stay safe, because I don't really use little mirrors or hairpins, but they are pretty, so they can decorate things. And I'm sure you've already seen this. This is, if you haven't figured it out, is the Big Bang Theory living room done in Legos, which again took me less than an evening. It's just a lot of fun and has a lot of detail, man. They even have the dry erase board with some of Sheldon's equations on it. Like, they've got so much detail in here, it's ridiculous. But I love it, so it lives there. And then I have this one other thing. I didn't show you the bottom shelf on my vampire one, but I did remember there is one other thing, and that is on my Dracula book there. You can see I've got this nice little vampire necklace, which I've had for years. Used to wear, don't wear anymore, not so angsty anymore, but it's really cool. And I thought, where better to put it than hanging over Dracula's book? Because, you know, fangs. So that's it. That's what I've got. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed doing it. I always enjoy moving into a new place and making it my own and figuring out what I can do with the space. These are bookshelves that I have not worked with before. I really enjoyed myself. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And if you have any recommendations, like maybe the books that I mentioned that I haven't read, maybe you've read them, if you recommend them, or if you don't recommend them, please let me know in the comments below. We can start a discussion, maybe even, I don't know, discuss it if I have read it. Or if you'd like to see me do one of these books with Book Kitty on our reviews, go ahead and comment below, let us know. But thanks for joining me. This is a lot of fun. If you missed my first video with the first 3 chapters of Black Beauty by Anna Sewell, you can go ahead and click up here to check it out now, or you can click down here to see a little bit more about our BookNook and why BookMouse and I are here doing what we're doing. And as always, don't forget to subscribe below and hit that bell so you get notified when we upload new videos, because there's going to be a lot more coming at you.